Hi everybody, my name is Megan and I'm usually at Base Party, but since we're at home, I'm going to show you all the bread that I like to make. So this is the recipe that I use. I just found it online because it's super easy and it takes very few ingredients and very few steps, so we're going to make that one. The things you need before we get started is you're going to need a pot that has a lid that can be in the oven at 450 degrees. So I have this, which is a Dutch oven, and that's kind of what it's made for, high temperatures and such. But you can use any kind of pot with a lid, but just make sure that it can be in the oven at that temperature. You'll also need some flour, some salt, and some yeast. That's all that this recipe takes besides some water. We need some measuring cups, a bowl, a spoon, and that's it. So another thing to know about this recipe is that it takes 2 days. So the first day you're just going to mix everything together and set it aside, and then the next day is when you're going to bake it. So today we're going to do the mixing up part. So the first thing that you need is 3 cups of flour. What I like to do is take a spoon and put it in the bag of flour into the measuring cup. I learned that in high school in my foods class, so I've just always done that ever since. Okay, so that's the 3rd cup of flour, and that's all you need for that. I made a little bit of a mess, but that's okay because we can clean it up. The next thing we need is 1½ teaspoons of salt. So I'm going to use a ½ teaspoon to make it a little easier. So that means I need 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Alright, and then I need a ½ teaspoon of yeast. I also like this recipe because yeast is kind of hard to find. It doesn't take very much. Alright. And then if you have some left over in your packet, you can just save it for later. And then the last thing you're going to need is 1½ cups of room temperature water. So when I'm doing this, I like to see it. If it feels cold, it's too cold. If it's burning my hand, it's too hot. You want it somewhere kind of in the middle. Alright, then you just dump that right in. So then you're just going to mix this up until it's incorporated. You don't need to make it perfect. It'll do that all on its own when you let it sit. So just until everything's kind of mixed in. Alright, so you're going to want it to look something like that. Now I know it doesn't look like perfect or anything, but like I said, that's totally fine. So then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put some plastic wrap over top of it. And then you're going to want to let it sit in like a warm place, probably in your kitchen, for 10 to 12 hours. So usually I just let it sit overnight, and then the next morning is when I put it in the oven. So I will show you the next part tomorrow. Alright, so we are on day number 2 of baking our bread, and today is when we actually bake it. So you're going to need an adult or older sibling or someone in your house who can work in the oven. You're going to need to first make sure that your racks are in a good position so that you can fit your whole pan in there. So I move it all the way down. Alright, and then you're going to take your pot, make sure there's nothing in it, and you're going to put it in your oven. And then you're going to turn it to 450 degrees. And then you're gonna let that preheat for at least 30 minutes. So if the oven's ready before 30 minutes, you need to just let it preheat for the whole 30 minutes. So then the next thing you're gonna do is take your bread, which should now look like this, or your dough. You're gonna put a little bit of flour on your counter. Okay, that's just so it doesn't stick to the counter. Then you're gonna dump your dough out onto the flour. You're gonna wanna have some flour on your hand so you can scrape out all the extra pieces. It's gonna be really kind of sticky and wet. That's exactly what you want. All right. So then take a little bit more flour on your hands and you're just gonna shape it. You don't need to knead it or move it around a bunch. You're just gonna shape it into a ball. Make sure you got some flour on the outside of it so it's not too sticky. So just like that, that's all you need to do. And then you're gonna take a piece of parchment paper. You're gonna want that big enough to fit inside your pot. You're gonna take your dough, stick it right on there. All right, just like that. And then you're gonna take your plastic that you had on your bowl and just lay it right on top. And then after 30 minutes is when we're gonna put it in our pot and stick it back in the oven. All right, so my timer just went off and now I'm gonna take the pot out of the oven. So remember, you probably need someone to help you. It can be really hot and heavy, so make sure you're doing this safely. All right. Take your lid off. Take your plastic off because we don't want that in the oven, and grab your paper by the corners. You're just going to go ahead and place your dough with the paper into the pot, just like that. Then you're going to go ahead and put your lid back on. And then you're going to stick it back into the oven for 30 more minutes. Alright, so the timer just went off for 30 minutes, so we're going to take the pot out of the oven again. And all you're going to do is take the lid off. And you're going to stick it back in. And you're going to let it cook for about 10 to 15 more minutes, depending on how dark you want your bread. And again, alright, so the timer just went off and the bread is done. So this is what your final product should kind of look like. So you can just take the paper, grab it by the edges, and take it out of the pot and move it over to a cooling rack. You could leave it in the pot and let it cool, whatever you want to do. But that's how you make some easy bread.